Vocally, anything to say? Yeah.
I guess. I guess one more. I guess what do you think? You have to show to coaches just to have them have that belief in you that you can. Yeah, be ready.
What can you say?
Oh, sorry, I was pantomiming. I was trying to pull a Shedeur Sanders there. So obviously he addressed the questions, but did it in a way where we couldn't hear him speak. He chose to pantomime his answers. Stephen A., when you see that video, what's your reaction?
I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm just going to say that he has to know that other people are going to look at him and consider that immature. I don't consider him immature. I think that he can play. I think that he's a leader. I think that a lot is prejudged when it comes to him. I think it's unfair. I can't wait to see him get his chance on a football field or whatever. I just think that at times, I wish people see ahead of time how they're going to judge you and how you should be. They shouldn't judge him. It's no big deal because every word he says, we micromanage, we dissect, and folks judge him accordingly. And I think that was his way of saying, you know what? If you don't hear anything that I have to say, okay, that's cool. And it's not a big deal, but folks are going to make it out to a big deal. I assure you there's going to be some people out there, pointing and using that to say there was immaturity there. I don't believe him to be that kind of a person, an immature person. I think he's a young man. I think he's highly intelligent. I think he's composed. I think he's been exposed to a lot more than a typical fifth-round pick would have been exposed to. Obviously, we know who his daddy is, arguably the greatest athlete who ever lived. Yep. And those things, and they get judged harshly. All I would say to both, I wouldn't need to say this to Prime Time, but I would still say it to him and his son, that attachment, the bottom line is people are going to be ultra critical. Just be mindful of it.
Yeah, I would say this. Number one, everything, when you're at where you rank on any kind of depth chart as a quarterback, everything you do and say is a job interview. In the NFL, every moment. I think the second thing is this. That 30 or 40 seconds, Stephen A., while he may not be an immature person, that's an immature moment. It is. Because does that 30 or 40 seconds help you in your own building? Is that moment, is there anybody in the Cleveland Browns that in that building that sit there and go, yep, that's a good moment for Shedeur. He shows growth or maturity or he handled that well or whatnot. He handled the disappointment. Because in my opinion, I would have had Dylan Gabriel the 1 and Shedeur the 2 this week. So my question is, why is Shedeur not the backup? We're moving on from Joe Flacco. We're trying to figure out who's the starting quarterback or if Gabriel can be a starter in this league. I want to also know that about Shedeur. So why is Shedeur not the backup? That would be a starting point for me. Is that helping you in your own building? And then is that helping you in your outside of your own building? Is there another team, a general manager, a president, a decision maker that's going, I liked that. I think that person's going to help us. I think that person's a good enough player that can help us. I think he can help our building, our organization, our locker room, make us better. And so while he may not be an immature person, and I agree with a lot of things that Stephen A. said, that's an immature moment. And I hope that there's somebody that in Shedeur's circle that says, hey, be yourself. I just don't think that that's helping you when it comes to you solidifying a role in a job at that spot in the NFL.
The conversation with Shedeur Sanders has to be that you can't be yourself. The conversation with Shedeur Sanders has to be that you can't have fun. In his circle and around his people, they think that is part of his charismatic personality. That is part of him understanding how to engage, how to enjoy, how to take something that could be seen as a negative, because as Adam Schefter posted, he believes it was in response to what Rex Ryan had to say about the confident answer he had, saying that I believe I can play in this league. Have you seen other quarterbacks in this league? That was his answer to it. That was his response to it. That if I don't say anything, then you can't then criticize me. And in my estimation, my opinion,
Great way to get to the boundary, where Carter has no chance of making a play. And a special fourth key is to win the turnover battle. The Eagles have scored a large chunk of their points off of turnovers and boast a +4 turnover margin, tied for third best in the league. They've been clean when it comes to maintaining possession of the ball too, as a lone fumble is the only turnover they've given up all year. The Broncos have a margin of -2. It's up to Bo Nix and the offense to play a clean game, and the defense needs to find a way to make this Philly Crackpoint 2025 NFL Quarter Season Awards, MVP, Top Rookies, Coaches, ESPN3. Andrew Mukuba, S., Philadelphia Eagles. As the Eagles built their defense and moved on from 8 of their 17 most used defenders for cap reasons this offseason, there were obvious places where they were going to need to take a leap of faith. Guys such as Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean had already established themselves as stars, but the Eagles had questions at safety, where C.J. Gardner-Johnson was traded. Sidney Brown and Marcus Epps were on the roster, but Mukuba, Philly's second-round pick, quickly claimed a job for himself. There's a lot to like about what we've seen from him, especially in a Vic Fangio defense that relies on its safeties to disguise their intentions and mask their coverage concepts pre- and even post-snap. Though he was hit-sticked by Patrick Mahomes, Mukuba's highlights in the Eagles' win over the Chiefs were a great example of what he can do. He flew into the backfield from deep and helped make a tackle for loss on Isaiah Pacheco, came off the slot for a pressure and half sack of Mahomes, went over the top of a pick play and still managed to tackle Hollywood Brown for no gain on a 3rd and 1 crosser, and caught a deflection off Travis Kelce's hands for an interception and 41-yard return. He was just so happy. After 255-day layoff, Nakobe Dean returned to practice. NBCSP, where does he fit in? What will his role be? Will he be able to even get on the field considering the way Jihad Campbell is playing? Right now, Nakobe Dean just smiles and shrugs. Who knows? All he knows is that he's had October 1st circled on his calendar since the spring, and on October 1st, Wednesday afternoon, he was on the football field for the first time in 255 days. It's been on the calendar, Dean said at his locker after practice Wednesday. I knew that Wednesday of this week I was going to practice. As soon as I found out that they were going to put me on PUP, I knew that this was the day I would practice. It was January 19th, during the Eagles' wild-card win over the Packers at the Link, that Dean suffered a patellar tendon injury in his left knee. He had surgery the next day and has been waiting since then to play football again. I actually went to bed 30 minutes earlier than usual last night, Dean said. I wanted to make sure my body feels good. From a vibe standpoint, in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills, and that is mostly because they have the most unstoppable player, again from a vibe standpoint, in Josh Allen. Give me Buffalo. Barely.A.J. Brown takes accountability, calls Philly his home. BGNB his own admission, A.J. Brown did this to himself. One of the biggest storylines coming out of the Eagles' 4th consecutive win was about the tweets the WR shared after the Bucs game alluding to his frustration with the offense. Brown spoke to reporters on Wednesday after the topic of his discontent had permeated local and national media for days, and cleared the air. Eagles win, Commanders fall, Cowboys tie, and Jackson dart. NFC East Mixtape Volume 170. BGN YouTube. The NFC East had all sorts of wild action this past week. Between the 4 teams there were 2 wins, one in a rookie quarterback's first start, a surprising loss, and even a tie. RJ Ochoa and Brandon Lee Gauton discuss it all on the latest episode of the NFC East Mixtape. Broncos vs Eagles Week 5, keys to the game. Mile High report. Even though the Eagles rank in the bottom half of the league in rushing yards per game defensively, Jalen Carter is a nightmare of a matchup for this offensive line. Luke Wattenberg struggles against big, strong, and nasty defensive tackles, and that's what Carter is about. He's great in the run game, and Philly will need to lean on him, and this offense will have to specifically game plan for him. My idea is that the Broncos lean into their inside trap game more than they have so far this year, as Bulls and Mainers are much more capable at dealing with a guy like Carter, and these quick-hitting run plays should be able to keep the defense on the back foot, or open up big lanes in the play-action game. I also like the way Denver runs their outside zone and toss concepts as the offensive line executes those blocks at a high level. Toss is a great way to get to the boundary, where Carter has no chance of making a play.